65-year-old man and his accomplice will be appearing in the Rustenburg Magistrate's Court this morning. The two are accused of allowing a group of illegal miners access to the Khuseleka mine shaft from one of the bedrooms in the house in the area. Following a tip-off, the police raided the home and discovered a tunnel. A manhunt is on for other suspects who are believed to have escaped through the manhole. For more on this story, we are now joined by the former chairperson of the Mineral Resources and Energy Committee, Sahlulelo Luzipo, who's joining us live. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. I want to start off here. When you first saw that story and you saw the visuals that Zola beamed yesterday, looking at this hole inside a house in a bedroom floor, what went through your mind?
Well, good morning to you, Aldrin, and your viewership. First, let me thank the opportunity that is given. Look, it brought back, obviously, the experiences that we have had and the extent to which this has gone. Remember, one of the things that has been an argument was the fact that we have got a crisis and we need to attend to the issue of illegal mining. One of the things that came to mind, and I think it's going to be a very interesting case, this one, is whether do we call that illegal mining or do we call that tampering with the electricity infrastructure. Remember, we've just seen the president signing off the electricity amendment bill into law, and one of those issues that are contained there is penalties and the fines for those who are found tampering with electricity infrastructure. In this case, and I must say, on the basis of the surface information that we have received, is that the intention was not necessarily to dig or to take out a mineral. It was more to do with copper theft or copper cables. So we need to look, obviously, I must say very quickly that that will have an impact in terms of the mining activities that are supposed to take place. So this is where what came to my mind, that seeing that it's happening, it now takes us back to what we have said, that the issue of illegal mining in this country is a national crisis, and it requires to be attended to with the extreme urgency that it needs. So I'm just, for me personally, my interest would be what type of action will be taken and what forms of cases these people are going to face. Because when you look at the reports, it also says there would have been a buggy that came on numerous occasions to come and collect the copper cables through the backside of the house. So it's going to be an interesting case. But I think, to me, what is important is that the law now is able to respond to that kind of a situation.
Yeah. Have you ever come across an incident of this nature, a modus operandi like this, where a hole is dug through a bedroom or any room in a house that leads to a mine shaft?
Never, not at all. In fact, it has been a complaint that we have received. For example, around the areas of Ekurhuleni, we had received reports where people, in fact, even in the northwest, but your Matlosane side, which is around the Klerksdorp, not Rustenburg, we would get received reports from people who would say they can literally hear people underground with a conversation, they can hear the hammer, they can hear all the activities that is taking place. In Ekurhuleni, they will show that just outside the house, there will be holdings, some holes that are open, that reflect the extent. But the extent to which the illegal holes are kept or are found inside the house or a bedroom, even in the lounge or whatever the place it might be, it has never been an experience that we have experienced before or one has ever heard of it. So It is, that's why I'm saying, it is a very complex matter.
Yeah, and from those incidents that you have witnessed before, the hole may not be inside the house, but maybe somewhere in the yard. Were you able to determine what sort of equipment would have been used? Because I'm just thinking about it, like having to dig a hole that goes perhaps maybe even kilometers on end to get to a mine shaft. it does require a level of skill. Sahlulelo, are you still there?
Yes. Look, I think the issue is exactly what you say. It has been a difficult thing to deal with. But remember, one of the things that we had noticed on numerous occasions is that there is something called the gold-bearing material, or what you would call a line. So it is easy to detect where there will be a holding. So I think they would have understood the direction of the shaft when it goes underground. And therefore, all what you need to do is to understand that straight line, and you then open up a hole, and you will be able to access the hole to the shaft, to the shaft line. So I think it is one of the things, but this is too sophisticated. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think even myself I ever thought that inside the house you can find an access to a mine. It actually says that there is more extensive work that has to be done. But let me hasten to say this, Aldrin. To me, it also confirms the comprehensive strategy that we have been talking about in government, because we don't want a situation where one would say, no, this matter relates to the stealing of copper cables, it's not about mining and so forth. It now requires government to understand that activities of illegality or syndicate will take different forms. In the same way you fight the battle against copper cables, it requires also to be attended in such a manner. And that's why I'm saying, at least now you don't have if it is about copper theft, you already have a law that responds to copper theft, and that law has to be put into effect with the speed that it requires. So whilst police, I don't know what they have in front of them, but I'm saying if it is about copper theft, they must use the new amended Electricity Act, which is an act that responds even to issues of copper theft, regardless of what space where it takes place.
And in an incident of this nature, considering what you speak about, the shaft line, would this mean that there must have been somebody within Sibanye-Stillwater's, maybe a former employee even, who is well versed with how these lines go, to be able to actually assist illegal miners, or in this particular case also copper thieves, to access those shafts?
Well, any possibility. I think the police must not leave anything to chance. For an example, we all know at times, even if your CITs or any other exercise, it is by the assistance of internal knowledge. And I know, and I'm confident enough that they could be able to trace whether that information would have been received or it's an inside work that has been understood. Because you can, if the reports as they are, you can see the intention here was not necessarily to extract any mineral commodity. The intention was clearly to be able to tamper with the with copper theft, which is why, again, we said, amongst other things, beyond the issue of managing electricity infrastructure, there is a need to put a comprehensive regulations around the issue of scrap metals in this country. And we think if that were to be done successfully, we will also be able to respond to acts of this nature. So I think for me, those possibilities cannot be forgone and say, no, it is impossible. It is possible that it could have been also people who inside who have done that thing.
Yeah, and just looking at how huge Sibanye-Stillwater's operations are in the Northwest, if you think about the cables that are being stolen, not too sure whether these are cables that are still being used, that the company still rely on, but if there were to be cables that the company still rely on, I'm just thinking now about the economic sabotage element to this.
That's why, unfortunately, as I said, it requires not only a sector or a different entities of the state. It requires a comprehensive state intervention. As we have said, it is an act of economic sabotage, but also when we're dealing with the Electricity Amendment Bill, one of the things that came to the fore when some others were arguing that you can't regulate beyond your scope of responsibility. One of the things that was raised was the fact that there is a need to go beyond just those who are dealing or stealing copper cables, and also regard the issue of copper theft as nothing else but as an act of treason that requires a quick intervention. So I would argue and say that this we may have devastating impact. By the way, Alton, even if it is not a mine that is, the last time I looked at it, Khuseleka mine was a mine active in operation. But even if that was not the case, you will understand the implications. Even when it is a mine that is no longer in use, that it will still have those devastating effects if all those cables are tampered.
Yeah. What would you say the next step for law enforcement should be in terms of surveying the areas around this house as well to try and get to the bottom of what's going on?
My starting point will be that government, regardless from what level, there is a need to put strict regulations as far as the scrap metal industry is concerned, so that people can take accountability every time they are found in possession of this. Otherwise, we might be fighting a losing battle. The second thing is that, yes, we need to deal with this issue as part of economic sabotage. And in my view, let's see government interacting. I would really appreciate if all angles or arms of the state, especially when it comes to law enforcement agencies, especially when it comes to those who are making the strict legislation framework, they could then tackle this issue before it grows. Some of these things, Aldrin, the regrettable thing is that they start in a small way, like it is happening. It's my first time I hear a case of this nature taking place underground in a mine, which now shifts and changes the manner in which we have understood illegal mining. Yeah. And in my view is that as soon as decisive intervention is being made, so that this does not become now a common practice of what is taking place. We have seen it taking place in areas like Transnet. We have seen it taking place in entities like Telkom and so forth. It would actually mean this is the beginning of another problem that the mining industry might be facing.
Thank you so much for your time. That is Sahlulelo Luzipo, who is the former chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy.